Thanks, listeners, for tuning in on Tuesday. You know what that means. We're going to get an update in Elko City News. And today, so pleased to have our guest in studio from the City of Elko Parks and Recreation Department. We have Parks and Rec Director James Wiley alongside Joe Carr, who is the Parks Superintendent. Welcome, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to see you both.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And Joe.
Thanks for having us, Lori. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Joe. We're going to have you sit right up close to that microphone. James is doing okay, but thank you, gentlemen. And obviously, we're going to talk about, we're going to get updates in pickleball and golf and some other really cool amenities, some wonderful achievements in parks that's already been accomplished that you'll notice a big difference in that. I did just want to start off the city show in acknowledging the passing of a former city councilman and a dear friend to our community for decades, and that is Jim Connor. And Jim, I was able to research from the city clerk, her website at the City of Elko website, that Jim was first elected to the city council in 2001. So I believe that would have meant he served 3 terms, retiring in 2014. He became a city recreation board member, so again, a perfect tie-in to today's conversation. And he was a tireless supporter of the new pool and rec center, long before there was a Boys and Girls Club willing to take on this huge task. But Jim, he knew that the day would come and when we would have a beautiful new facility. So I just wanted to acknowledge, and again, my personal friendship with Jim in how he conducted, he and his late wife, Rose, and their daughter, Sarah. And Sarah, our hearts go out to you, sweet friend. But Jim and Rose and their friends they were the Nevada JCs, Elko JCs. Jim had moved from Carson City. And one of the first things he said when he got here was he noticed, why doesn't Elko have a Nevada Day parade? That makes no sense. And so 38 years ago, Jim and Rose and friends with the JCs sponsored the first Nevada Day parade. And sadly, the last Nevada Day parade that Jim participated in was just this past October 2025. And so that marks 38 years. And Sarah, obviously, our community will do everything we can to continue that beautiful tradition. But we just wanted to acknowledge Jim's commitment. I know the police department issued a statement too because he was very committed to council. He worked for decades. I believe he retired under Judge Al Kaysen as a court bailiff, and so very well known, respected, but also had a great sense of humor. I mean, Jim did not take himself seriously, did he, James?
No, and I had an opportunity to work with Jim on several things, most notably the rec center. He was probably the biggest proponent of that idea on the city council level, and he worked tirelessly to make sure that that was emphasized and planned for. And fortunately, he got to see the result of that. It wasn't exactly as it was planned, but Elko finally has a rec center, and kudos to him. He was a huge proponent in that. And then always a proponent for Parks and Rec. He was always our liaison throughout his entire time, and supported Parks and Recreation efforts full-heartedly, not to mention all of the things in the community that he was involved in with parades and other events, and constant person there supporting what's going on in their community. So wanted to acknowledge that, and our condolences go out to the family, and he'll be missed.
Thank you, James. James Wiley, our City of Elko City Parks and Rec Director. Here on Elko Live, just again acknowledging Jim Connor, his contributions that are everlasting to the community of Elko, because parks are something that we take great pride in, and that it is our responsibility to care for them, preserve them, create new ones. And that's why both gentlemen today are just perfect guests to talk about what we're going to be doing with Parks and Rec here in the near future. So thank you, James. I'll let you start with some of the things you were hoping to highlight today.
Yeah, well, I'll start out with our our major capital project starting here shortly, and that is it's named the Parks Rehabilitation Project. What that is the big hype is around the pickleball side of that, and that is very exciting. But it's a little more than that also. It's I've lumped in some other court rehab projects, mainly in the main city park with the basketball court and the old the handball court. So that will be getting a new facelift, new surfacing, new fencing. It'll be like new when we're done. And then, of course, we've got the pickleball side of that, where we will have a pickleball complex, I'll call it, down at Southside. On either side of the road, there will be a total of 11 pickleball courts for our community. And this is all going to kick off on April 6th. That's when the construction contract starts. And they'll probably start over here in the main city park with demo. And then eventually moving down to the south side and taking care of the pickleball facilities. But we want to make sure that we have that handball court done in time for the 4th of July, because that is a major annual event, the Basque Festival, and that is the highlight of that event. One of the highlights of that event is that handball competition that they have over there. So that's exciting news. This has taken a couple of years to get off the ground. We started planning this a couple of years ago and had a few setbacks in the planning and securing a contractor for that job. But it's finally here, and we plan on having this all wrapped up by middle of summer.
Wow, that is fantastic, James. A couple of questions. The fronton, as it's known, the handball court, is, as you said, very important part of the Basque tradition and festivities in the community. Can you tell us about the mural, the Tree of Guernica, that was painted? It was led by the late Anna Urizaga, and I know that there's a lot of love for that. That's one of Elko's first murals.
Yeah, and it's going to remain.
Yay.
I would say that there's been some discussion about doing some updates and touch-ups to that. So there's been a few efforts made to contact the actual artist. I'm not sure if the artist is still around.
No, that's Anna. But her family is, and I have talked to family, and they are very willing to help, James.
So there's been some discussion about some efforts. We would like to touch that up, but preserve it, because that is a focal point there, and it's got some historic and sentimental value also. So that is not a part of this project, however. We're focusing on the surfacing, new fencing, new basketball standards with a new surface there. But as far as the handball court goes, the actual concrete surface is in pretty rough shape, and we've patched and sealed and done things just to get this main event of the year every year, and it fits in perfect with this overall project. We're focusing on outdoor courts and rehabilitating those and getting those back up to a higher standard, and so that users can enjoy them a little more.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I'm sure listeners agree, James. As you said, a lot of effort. Do you know the price tag approximate, just so folks can appreciate that?
Yeah, the contract for all of that work is right around $1.4 million. Again, that's the basketball court in the main city park, improvements to the handball court in the main city park, and the designation. We're retrofitting sites down at Southside, but they will be dedicated to 11 outdoor pickleball courts.
Yeah, we'll definitely spend a little more time, too, on the pickleball, because that's so huge. And other than that, listeners should know the $1.4 million is money that you set aside, you reserve in advance. There's like a 5-year master plan. You have a Parks and Rec advisory board. So a lot of consideration goes into this, and it's a separate line item, right?
Yeah, it comes out of a fund that's generated through room tax monies that the city collects. That fund has a lot of different needs, but one of the major components into that, there are money set aside so that the Parks and Recreation Department can complete capital projects. So anything big that we do, big capital projects, comes from those room tax dollars.
And that's why it's important when we talk with our city clerk that our local hoteliers, moteliers, and the majority of owners, especially those who are local, are very considerate of paying those room taxes on time. Unfortunately, we have some out-of-town owners who are in arrears right now, so that'll be a topic as we go on, but not for you today, James. You don't have to talk about that. So
yeah, I'll leave that to the clerk and the financial departments. They do a good job over there, and I know that they've been there's been a recent audit just to see how we're doing. Are we hitting the mark? And that has helped out a lot, and we've seen a lot of cooperation and compliance from those efforts too. So
that's
the
wonderful.
fund is going to be in good shape and healthy, and we can continue to do these projects. And there's other benefactors from that fund as well, and so a lot of need there. The beauty of it is that it comes from people that stay in hotels. It's not an extra tax or levy put on our citizens, but that's how we fund recreation and the convention center and several nonprofit events throughout the year. That's where that money goes.
James, thanks again for the background on that. It's really important. And again, it's a significant responsibility, but it is a pass-through tax. And another reason why we work so hard to generate tourism, people visiting the community. It goes right back into the amenities that we can all enjoy. James Wiley is our Parks and Rec Director for the city of Elko, catching up on some good news about some projects. Again, he described the 11. Has it always been that many pickleball courts? That sounds so cool.
It hasn't always been that many. So we started in the main city park, and it was a multi-use tennis pickleball court. So we had 2 courts that were lined out for tennis and pickleball. A little bit of minor conflict there because you have 2 user groups. But we also had tennis courts down on the south side. And so we also striped, I think we started out with 4 down there, give or take. Again, multi-use. And then as the years went on, we kind of made the south side dedicated to pickleball only because we were seeing a lot of increase in play. And we got that up to 6 somewhat temporary but dedicated pickleball courts. We want to make that completely permanent now just for pickleball, new surfacing. And then the even better news is that across the road is the old outdoor roller rink that has kind of sat there on the sidelines for quite a while. I think when the Igloo came on board for the hockey team, they kind of focused over there, but it's kind of been sitting there, not overly by no sense overly used, but how great would it be to have pickleball consolidated in one area of the city and then add an additional 5 courts?
So that's the plan.
Yeah.
All right. And we've got the money for that?
We do. Yeah, that's all part of that $1.4 million contract that we have awarded, and we'll start construction on April 6th.
Wow, that's great news. Again, pickleball fans have been chiming in for this. The one thing, it is an outdoor facility, right?
It is. It's all outdoor, yes.
All outdoors. And so it's probably appropriate to mention that in the most recent presentation by the Boys and Girls Clubs on their proposed sports arena, it's an arena, I think. I don't want to get into that topic of what it is or isn't, but the good news is it's supposed to have sport courts in there, and it could host, the plan is, according to Rusty Barr, is to host pickleball year-round, right?
Yeah, I think there will be that aspect of it. My understanding of that center or facility is it is going to be a multi-use facility. So it could be used for rodeos, it can be used for concerts, it can be used for basketball tournaments, pickleball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. But it will have that aspect of it can be interchangeable. So I don't think it would be dedicated to any one use year-round, but throughout the year, those uses could be facilitated.
All right. Thanks, James. Again, just to let pickleballers know, we're thinking of you, and both the outdoor courts and then what's proposed for the facility that would be located just east of town. So let's talk about golf, because I think the driving range, the clubhouse, the restaurant, right, the bar, they're open.
Yeah, so we officially opened the clubhouse, bar and restaurant, and the pro shop out along with the driving range on Sunday. And I was not up there on Sunday, but word has it that there was a full crowd up there and people were just loving it. The weather was fair. And so that's how we started out. As far as the rest of the course, we've had a really phenomenal winter in terms of mildness, and conditions on the course right now are really good for this time of year. And we are ready to open up the course to walk-ins only, no carts. The course still needs a little bit to break into the growing season, but we are targeting sometime this week to open that up. Now, we do have a little weather blip that might put a little frown on some people's face, but we are expecting a little bit of rain and snow starting tonight, tomorrow, and into Thursday. But we'll keep an eye on that, and we will be making an official announcement. I anticipate that we'll be open for the weekend, and the weather improves going into the weekend and into the start of next week. So it's exciting news for those golfers. Dust off your clubs, get ready. We'll be making an announcement soon on a definite date. We may have to tend with some minor weather events. That's typical this time of year, but it's looking more and more favorable, and we're going to get some bonus rounds of golf in again this March at Ruby View.
Well, that's great news. And of course, we thank the people who care for the golf course, that not just the staff, obviously, but the staff certainly, because again, the course is in great shape, as you described. But also we have a golf course advisory board, right? They help make some of those policy decisions. If you need water, you've got some, right?
Yeah, we have, not only do we have a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, but we also have an advisory board dedicated to golf. And we met earlier this year, our kickoff for the year, and we're going to meet again on the 13th of March. So, we'll be looking at potential capital improvements to the course, equipment acquisitions. We'll be taking a look at rates. That's always something that board looks at. And but as far as the golf courses goes, the golf course is doing very well financially right now. So if there is a proposal for some sort of a rate increase, it would come much later on in the off season and be ready to go for the next season. But I will say we'll see how that goes. I think there's not an outright need to just go raise fees, but if you look at the long picture and the needs and the costs associated with the golf course, it's always a good idea to take a look at those rates and analyze those and just see where we're at. And for the future too. We've got some big future ideas and dreams up there, and one of the challenges that we're faced with is how are we going to pay for those? So that's why we look at rates. But financially speaking, the golf course is in really, really good shape.
That's wonderful to hear, of course, from our city Parks and Recreation Director, James Wiley, going into golfing season, really ramping up. And it is so important that the golf course, again, is in good shape. Patrons are happy with the restaurant, with Pro Rick Longhurst, obviously. John Carr and his crew run the bar and restaurant, and things seem to be falling into place. Isn't it? And I don't want to jinx anything, but going into the season, and there's nothing major that needs to be fixed, right, James?
Nothing major, nothing that's a surprise. We always have kind of a list of priorities that we work off of, and we try and incorporate that into a 5-year plan. But yeah, there's, I guess one update. It's not super exciting or sexy, I would say, but we are going to be replacing our pump station this upcoming fiscal year. So the design for that is nearing completion. That was budgeted for in this cycle, but that will happen sometime in the late summer, early fall. Anticipating a slight disruption to the play of golf, but it won't be anything major.
And again, just one more reason why it's important to stay ahead on those rate increases. That way they can be incremental and that you can anticipate for unforeseen expenses and projects, or who knows, even a future expansion, which is super cool to think about.
That's always out there, and I will just a quick note, we do have property under an RP&P lease with the BLM, which is the surrounding property towards the back of the golf course. And that whole idea was to preserve that property in the event that we can justify an expansion of the golf course.
All right.
And then one other quick note, I just want to, I'm sure most of the public already knows, but I want to welcome Ryan Blair to our Golf Pro team. He is officially our assistant pro, and you're going to see a lot of him up there. And Rick is working with him and mentoring him like he's done so many times in so many other places. And Ryan is excited, and he's ready to go out and get his certifications that he needs to be a certified golf pro.
And that's the way you do it. Thanks so much, Rick, for taking Ryan under your wing, literally, because that seems to be the biggest rub. Is it's really important for this community to get the golf pro that fits, and it sounds like Ryan is going to be that future fit. Maybe Rick will let you retire in the future.
That's all part of the plan, and like I say, Rick he's such a great mentor, and I think it goes back in history with former pros at Ruby View, pros in Winnemucca and in Spring Creek. Rick has had a major role in mentoring them and getting them on the path so that they can eventually get to that level of golf pro and have a career in it.
Yeah, and it's huge. It lends to the quality of life in Elko. People want to be here when they can depend on something like our beautiful Ruby View Municipal Golf Course. It's not a private facility. That's really important, listeners, if it's something we want to maintain as a community. That's why these conversations are important, how your tax dollars are steered, and how people appreciate the value of having a nice, peaceful, beautiful amenity like the city golf course. So the only other quick thing I think, and then we'll switch over to Joe because Joe Carr's been waiting so patiently, but snowball woes. I don't know if there's anything, because I know that's part of your budget, putting in
it is
a barn and stuff up there.
Yeah, we've been talking about a storage and a covered storage facility we have some very expensive pieces of equipment up there that we would like to preserve the life of those. Those are very expensive if you were to go buy them new. We've been fortunate to have them donated to Snowball, and we just want to take care of them. It is an idea that seems to get kicked down the road quite a bit. It's not an absolute priority. It makes sense to do something like that, but with all the demands and priorities that come and go with the rec fund, there will likely need to be some juggling in that aspect, at least for this initial year coming up. And we're working on that right now. So it's not something that we're going to totally ignore, but we have some other ideas that can accommodate protecting that equipment in the off season and stuff. We may be able to find some place to store them in the off season at least, so they're not out in the weather year round.
Oh, that's really good to hear, because again, we appreciate the donations, any contributions. Elko Snowball, again, is a city amenity, but Mother Nature has just done us hard the last 2 years. So
yeah, 2 years in a row.
It's not our fault.
We haven't had enough snow to really even think about skiing. This year was much worse than the year previous. If you look up there right now, there's no snow. There's zero snow. So that is not helping matters out. I will say when Mother Nature does cooperate with us, the Snowball is a great facility. It's an economical option in the winter for families that want to ski close to home, and for those that are trying to get into the sport and activity. It's a great asset to have. However, we are at the mercy of Mother Nature and in our resources and our staffing levels, and it makes it difficult when we don't get snow. So hopefully next year.
Yes, hopefully next year. More to come on that. Again, thanks for steering that and, remaining optimistic. I mean, because that's what we can do as a community. There's still potential for some summer opportunities with the chairlift, and it's a great little natural bowl. And so I think it has more life ahead as long as we can get some snow in the snow bowl.
And our recreation staff, Mandy Ferguson, is working on planning some future events that would be in the summertime up there that I think will be really fun. We'll see what we can get organized and plan. We're just getting into that right now and see what we can pull off up there for the upcoming year.
So thanks, Mandy. We hear good things about Mandy's work. Now we're going to, and you can take your time, Joe, our keeper of the trees, our Elko City Park Supervisor, Joe Carr, although there are many things other than just the trees to talk about. So I want to make sure you get to do that today, Joe. Thanks for being here.
Sure, happy to be here, and James is so eloquent with his descriptions of all these projects that are going to be really great for the parks and the community to use, especially with the pickleball courts and snow bowl and golf course. All those are great amenities and facilities for people to use. We're just super excited. We've got a couple small little projects that'll probably have a pretty big impact in the park system. We're kind of in the middle of our restroom updates and upgrade project that we're trying to get through those. But this year we worked on Age-Old Park in Southside, so we have new flooring and new partitions and some new doors and fresh paint and fresh roof on those. So it'll just help make those a little more inviting to people that are there to use those facilities. And down at the sports complex, we have some new shade shelters that are installed, just a little bit more to go to get the canvas coverings on those, but they're close to being complete and should be ready for use this spring sports season, which is about ready to get started here. High school should be kicking off their softball and baseball season this weekend with Indians varsity baseball at home and the Indians girls JV softball at home as well. The varsity's traveling, and then Little League's getting started, and so we're looking forward to an exciting year for spring baseball and softball and soccer and everybody coming out and using the parks. And so hopefully we'll look forward. We have some good tournaments coming up this spring and summer, trying to bring in as many tournaments as we can get in here. And so we should have a fairly large one in June, and Little League will be having their softball and baseball district tournament here that they are going to be hosting. And so that'll be all league ages throughout softball and baseball. So it should be a pretty busy couple weeks there in the end of June throughout the city sports fields.
A lot of fun, and it's also a nice boost to the economy.
Absolutely, and we really enjoy having people use the facilities, and the boost to having people here is a byproduct of that. And recreation plays a big part of that, is bringing tourism in and helping out with that as well.
Yeah, feeds right back into these amenities we've been talking about today. And so talking with Joe Carr, who's our city park supervisor, we wanted to mention, too, that Cleanup Greenup is coming right up, and usually the community gets to help plant a few trees during that event. It's going to be April 25th this year.
Yeah, correct. April 25th, Saturday. Usually starts off around 8 a.m. with a little startup at the main city park. And it's a really, really great program that's run through the city and gets volunteers out. We see anywhere from 500 to over 1,000 volunteers that come out, depending on the weather. We always hope for a nice weather, but the end of April, you can never really prognosticate what's going to come that week. But seems to be about 75% of the time we get some decent weather and get a lot of people out. And if you're a volunteer, you get lunch and a shirt included. And we typically will plant some trees that day. We've been focusing down at the sports complex on getting some trees in the ground down there to provide some additional shade to what we've just installed this year. So yeah, it's always a good time and good to see people out there in their orange and yellow shirts from year present and past years out there cleaning up the community. And also there's a free dump day as well, scheduled for that day. And if you work as a volunteer, you get that voucher so you can get out to the landfill and take advantage of that free landfill day throughout the following week.
Our award-winning Elko City landfill, and that's a serious thing. I mean, we should be proud that our landfill is recognized for how well it's kept. And elkocity.com, that's the website where you can go, right, and get registered, get your teams together for cleanup greenup.
Correct.
Sounds like a plan. How are our trees doing? Are there, because I notice, because I live in the tree streets, some of our trees are looking a little sad. They get really big, and just when you get excited, and then they can suffer, because I think we've had a dry couple of years, right, Joe?
Sure, yeah. Drought can always play a part in the health of our trees, just as any living plant can have stress throughout drought times. But for our park and city trees, they're in pretty healthy shape. We're always monitoring for things out there and pests and disease, but for the most part, they're in really good shape, and we have a really good pruning program that takes place within our park system. And so we try our best to stay on top of them to make sure they're maintained, and we don't see any major issues with them.
So were you able to squeeze in anything from your wish list onto James Wiley's master plan for the budget? You have any big projects?
We always try. I mean, we work in coordination with each other to look to the future and see what is most needed within the park system. And so we try and make those and put those projects in there where they're needed.
Okay. So as you mentioned, the bathrooms were the recent one, and shade structures at our new sports complex, which is super cool. And before you know it, it'll be time to start working on other phases of the sports complex, right, James?
Yeah. We have a design on the shelf for phase 2. That's on the shelf for now, but it is pretty much ready to go when the time says we need more fields. So we'll watch that, but we're ahead of the game at least, and so when that time comes, we've got a design ready to go, and we can put that into action.
Nice. One more question for you, and then obviously I'm going to make sure, Joe, we got to your topics today because you were waiting so patiently in the wings. Any progress, or what's the latest on, I know there's progress because meetings happen all the time, what's the progress on the Christine Memorial Field? Anything to report? Is that, do you want to do that? Joe?
Sure, yeah. So
Thank you.
James can correct me if I have a little bit of misinformation there, but it's been officially named, and right now we're waiting on the sign to be completed, and as soon as we have word on that sign completion, we will make sure to get that installed. I think we were hoping to have it completed and up before the first home game of the high school baseball season, but it doesn't appear that that'll happen. But as soon as we get it, we'll get it up and make sure that it's memorializes the great person that he was and all the contributions that he made to the baseball community in Elko.
That's an example of the power of persuasion, people, love in a community. Obviously, it all started with him, and people that want to make sure that his legacy is perpetuated. Do you know the exact name, what it will be called? I just want to make sure I get that right going forward.
I think we landed on Galen E. Christine Field.
Okay. Galen E. Christine Field. Thank you, because I know there were thirds and juniors and different things, and I just wanted to make sure I was getting that right. So, okay.
I think I got that right.
If not, we'll fix it going forward.
Yes.
Someone will tell us, but we will fix it.
We have on there what the family requested.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
That's
So
as it should be.
I think I got that right, but pretty sure.
Oh, and so we should talk about, Joe, where it's located. It's a field that already exists, but it didn't have a formal name.
Correct. It's so we have Kump Field, which is located on the corner of Golf Course and Country Club Drive, right across from the new Nevada Gold Mines Boys and Girls Club Aquatic and Rec Center. And then above that, just to the northeast, is where traditionally the high school baseball team plays. And that is, it's been known as the Upper Kump Field or the high school baseball field. Did not have a it was technically not named, so that left it open to have Galen's name attached to it. And so, yeah, it's right there next to the skate park, right above the Kump baseball field.
Super cool. And everybody was in total agreement on this. That's the other important thing. So Kumps were like, we have our field. That one was just referred to casually. Please recognize this person. So great news. Did we get to everything that you guys were hoping to today? I hope I haven't left anything big out, Joe.
No, I think we basically covered everything, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the parks staff for all the work they do throughout the year, and they do such a great job for the community and take a lot of pride in what they do. So, James and I are extremely thankful for the work that they do throughout the year. So thanks to them.
And I would say too, because many people may not realize that the cemetery crew is included in your department, right?
Yes, true. They are their own department. They're a wing underneath the Parks Department, and they do such a great job as well. And they put a lot of pride in what they do, too.
And it shows. And I just have to say, really, truly thank you, cemetery crew. I don't know how you navigate through all the stuff. There's just so much stuff anymore. And I guess for an older person like me, I'm not a fan of all the stuff, but I know how hard they work to keep it tidy and to preserve the sanctity of the space for people like me who may not appreciate all the stuff, but they keep it tidy and it's a sanctuary.
They do their best, and we just ask that try to leave the alcohol containers and the glass off the headstones, and mainly, we just don't want to have any of that laying around for hazard sakes, but they do a great job, and we're eternally grateful for what they do.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to memorialize people, and I think it's important to respect all those differences too. But city cemetery crew, we see you and we thank you and we appreciate that job that you do. James, anything that I neglected to ask you about?
No, I think we covered everything we set out to today, and just a spring seems to be knocking on Elko's door. I think we'll have some intermittent weather as always, but please come out and utilize the parks, your public spaces, and support the events and the sports and the golf course, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you, James. James Wiley is our City of Elko Parks and Recreation Director. Joe Carr is the Superintendent of the Parks Department, our guest here on Elko Live today. Thank you, listeners, for joining us for today's program.